Japan. It's going to give you a rundown of the setup. Just trying something a little bit different on this race, just to try and experiment with the setup, try and get it a bit more to our liking. Longer gear ratios there, or shorter, I can't remember, but better acceleration onto the straights, so that we top out a bit quicker, but not very long straights on this circuit. ECU settings just there. We go 3 traction control, 2 for edge of brake, anti-wheelie on 3, power mapping on 2. With a little bit more fuel there, just to allow us to use the more powerful setting off the start, and also for defending, and if we want a little bit more top end. So let's begin the race. So looking down now, we can see some of the riders using the same setup that we do with the tyre choices. Some going for the harder rear option, and some for actually the softer rear, as we see there with Mir and Bagnaia using the softer front. Oliveira going for soft choice for the front and the rear, as well as Andrea Iannone. So it's going to be interesting to see how the tyres drop off as we go through the race. So just waiting for the lights to go out and try and make up a few places off the start here. So, bit of a decent launch off the start there. We actually make up a couple of places, but we want to be careful of making contact. You see the KTM there flies down the inside. All 3 riders that we passed initially have actually come back through. So, just keeping out of trouble and just trying it through this first section without getting any damage to the bike. As, in the last race and also the one before, we were right at the back for the first few laps and still managed to get into a decent points finish, quite high inside the points. But if you want to go and check those out, those are also on the channel as well. So see, first battle with the KTM there, that's probably going to be Brad Binder or Pi Spargo, one of the two. On the factory KTM bikes, the Tech 3s actually seem to be on a par or slightly ahead of the factory bikes at this point in the race. Bit sluggish off that corner, I think we might have missed a gear shift, but still power of the Honda versus the KTM being shown there. I'll drop back into power mode 1 now, because we've used quite a lot of fuel on this first lap. I've got to be careful running out of fuel. That is something that I have done in a couple of historic races, actually, of running out of fuel on the last lap, which is quite frustrating when you spend 15 minutes doing a race just to run out of fuel. And so we've got past the Tech 3 of Lecuona and Brad Binder on the factory bike, coming around the outside of Rabat now on the satellite Ducati. Had to lift off the power there because we were going to fling ourselves into the gravel otherwise. So Rabat does actually get back past again, but we'll try and retake the place coming through this next long right-hander. Again, just a little bit too much on the grass there. Just getting used to this circuit. A lot of these tracks I haven't tried with this new handling model so far. And also trialling the new setup as well might be a little bit more responsive than what we're used to. He's still only an 18th at the moment, which isn't a disaster. We've got a whole bunch of bikes up ahead that we can definitely get past. Alicia Sparrow on the Aprilia, we actually get past him first. Hopefully he won't come back at us under braking, but we managed to hold him off. And now also coming around the outside of one of the factory Suzuki's, which is going to be Mir, which we do get the move done there, but he comes back at us around the outside. It's going to be long drag race down to the finish line, and looks like we win that one. Now ahead of one of the Espargaros. That'll be Paul Espargaro. We already passed Alice over on the back straight on the previous lap. So that now moves us into a point scoring position. So next we've got the Tech 3 of Miguel Oliveira to pass. I'm just going to put it back to power mode 0 for now, because it looks like we may be a bit unsure with finishing the race on the amount of fuel that we've got. Just going to have to do a little bit of fuel management for these next couple of laps potentially, just to get our estimated fuel mileage up a little bit. And it does actually help save your tyres as well by having a lower power output setting, especially with a more throttle aggressive riding style than me. Okay, so we're trying to get the move done on the Tech 3 there. I'm going to put it back to power mode 1 because we know we can get past the other bikes quite easily with the different gear setup. That's past Motegi now on the Petronas bike, moving us up to 13th place. And looks like the next bike up the road is going to be Johan Zarco again on the other satellite Ducati. I believe it's an older version of the Ducati last year's bike, so maybe a bit easier to pass him. And we do into turn 1 there. Plenty of time to get the move done, and meaning that now we've got the next, I believe it's a factory supplied bike of of Takaki Nakagami there on the LCR Honda, but we've gone a little bit wide, and Zarco actually coming back through. But again, using the straight line speed of the Honda to get the move done. Looks like we've got quite a bit more pace in Nakagami. Just got to wait it out and find the right time to pass him. So we have got 4 laps left to run in this race, so we could probably use a bit more of our fuel allowance on this next sector to try and make a move. Might be a little bit too far back for now, but we do actually get quite a good entry into that corner and into power mode 2 there. Not even needing the slipstream. The Repsol versus the LCR Honda, they're just a total difference in speed. And that is the move done, and moving us into 11th place now. So we're just going to see who's next up the road. It looks like one of the Pramacs from here, and it is. It's going to be Bagnaia on the factory GP20 Pramac bike, or factory supplied GP20 bike. Not one of the factory team bikes. It's a satellite using the latest bike. And the back end actually sliding around a little bit there as we hit the brakes too hard. But still, we managed to get a good run through this section. See the top 9 group that seem to be pulling away a bit now, so we do need to start making our way past Bagnaia as quickly as possible. So according to our fuel estimations, we do have a spare lap of fuel to use if we need it, which could come in handy once we make our way past the Ducati. Bagnaia are actually very slow going into this hairpin corner. He seemed to be not running very fast at all. He potentially could be in a fuel saving mode, and we run down the back straight, and that is the move done and us into the top 10, but run a little bit wide. Bagnaia comes back through. We're going to try and retake the place round the outside, and we do get the move done. The trail breaking into this, and Bagnaia also again comes straight back down the inside, clipping us. Lucky to not get any damage on that one. Normally these bikes are very sensitive to damage on this year's game, but we managed to avoid any damage. So now we seem to be comfortably in the top 10. Today we can try and make some gains on Vinales, who is the next bike up the road on the factory Yamaha bike. Just making sure there that Bagnaia is definitely that, but looking behind us, giving me a slight distraction and almost running it wide. And the tyre wear seems to be okay so far. Maybe should have gone for the these softer options after all, just to give us that better pace. But having not trialled the setup and also not sure on how long the softs would have lasted, it's better to stay consistent and go with the medium set. And very late into the, and we've actually had an accident. We've actually come off the bike and crashed at the hairpin, so we're actually going to lose all that ground we made up and actually dropping all the way back to 12th place. No damage shown on screen for the bike, so potentially we might have just thrown it in the gravel and somehow not gained any damage. But now we're really going to have to push on to try and retake the 10th place that we were in originally. With 2 laps to go, Vinales is actually quite far up the road now. It's looking unlikely that we can. Of course, it's actually Bagnaia actually in front there, not Vinales, because we were, my mistake, making gains on him. Forgotten it was actually Bagnaia that we were behind again now. Massive shame. We probably lost maybe 5 or 6 seconds from the crash. It would have been interesting to see if we would have actually passed Vinales or not. I think we may have just about had the pace to get past, and the bike feeling like it does have a bit of damage. Just the initial turning response is not quite as good as it was. But I think the aim for this race can be, for sure, getting back to the top 10. We've got a lap and a half now. If we really push this bike hard, we can make some gains. But running on the maximum difficulty setting as well, it's going to be quite tough, and nearly actually making the same mistake on that lap by just trying to push the bike too hard. And yeah, definitely damage on the bike. When I press the brakes, the bike wants to pull over to the left hand side. It just doesn't feel as stable coming out of corners too, but we can try and race with it. And so see what the gap is between us and Bagnaia. It's actually 1.6 seconds, which is a hell of a lot of time to gain, but we will try and see if we can make our way past. You can see actually there that top group with Vinales where we were before. It's actually really far away now, so potentially may not have been able to get the move done on him. Bagnaia actually pulling away from us slightly now. I think we're just trying to push that a little bit too hard to catch up and losing the consistency slightly. Potentially the setup may contribute to not as good stability or feel with the bike, which I think I would probably go back to a standard or near standard setup for next races that are coming. For time trial, it's probably a good one to run, but it's not a setup I would be comfortable running with. We can see for the third lap in a row, we nearly mess up the hairpin again. And Bagnaia, we make a little bit of gain on him, but nothing that's going to mean we can attack for the position on the last sector. So coming through now, it's going to be, unless we make any more mistakes, only an 11th place finish today. But still a good race to practice with, and it really does show that it's much easier to make mistakes on this game compared to the previous versions. So having a look at the results there, our teammate actually into the 1:42s. That is really quite something. And winning the race comfortably, nearly 5 seconds gap, and over 8 seconds gap with Alex Rins there finishing out on the podium. We can see in the race there we do get a 43.5, which in terms of best lap would have potentially put us near to the podium. So if we could have kept that consistent pace, which I don't think with this setup is going to happen. So there you go, just proving that the setup that I use there is good for single lap pace and not for race distances. But that is it for this one. The next race, I've not quite decided on where it's going to be. Probably going to go with Phillip Island. So if you drop this video a like and subscribe, you'll be able to keep up with more races coming soon. Thanks for watching.